Hi, everybody. Breaker 1 on? Okay, here we are. Hi, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Annie Epley. I will be moderating this amazing panel today, talking about incorporating terpenes into CBD. I'm going to let these guys each introduce you, because we all introduce ourselves the best. I'm starting here with Corey.
Sure, I'm Colby.
I've called him Corey 3 times today.
It's okay. By the end of it, you'll call me Colby.
We're going to have to rename him.
Anyways, I'm Corey. No, Colby. I run the CBD and Cannabis Professional Business Network, which is a really large networking group on LinkedIn. I also run a company called Where's Hemp, which is an online lead generation. Obviously, all things CBD. Happy to be here.
Right on. Colby, nice to meet you, brother.
I appreciate that.
My name's Charlie. I own Right Mind Full Spectrum Cannabinoid Company. I started it because my epilepsy pills were not working, and I was trying many different pills. And I was having car accidents and seizures, grand mal seizures, tons of them, and nothing was working. And so started a full spectrum cannabinoid company and wound up becoming seizure free at the end of May of 2019. Gotta have the terpenes in the mix for it to all work. That's why I'm up here.
Hi, I'm Chris Cooper, and I'm the founder, and I'm running a company called Lucid Botanicals, and we make CBD mints. We use terpenes and herbs in special formulations to target different effects. So we have 7 different products, each one, like calm and energy and sleep and focus, so on, are designed to create the effect that you want. And we found that using terpenes is a very effective way of doing that.
Awesome. So we're going to do things a little bit different on this panel. There is a mic for you, so you're going to have an opportunity to ask questions. We want to make it a free-flowing conversation, so when you have the thought that comes to you, just throw your hand up and we'll pass through. Okay, sound good? Awesome. Welcome, gentlemen. Awesome. So let's get started. Let's jump right in. I need to know, it's called terpenes, terpenoids, and terps. Tell me, what is the significant difference in using verbiage when you're utilizing it in CB, terpenes and terpenoids? Charlie?
So the question is why...
deal, right? Mm-hmm. So like cannabinoid, THC,
right.
is it cannabis, is it marijuana? So when it comes to the difference between the word terps and terpenes in the space of like labeling and verbiage, what is the difference?
Terps is just slang for terpene.
Right.
It's just a shortened term.
Yeah, I don't think there is any difference other than a shorthand.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Terpenes is the term.
Yeah,
really.
Maybe I can throw in here really quickly. I did read that the FDA, when you're doing labeling with things like adding terps into there, that using the word terpenoid is more accepted by the FDA than the other words. I'll figure out what reason, so we can Google that.
That's funny, because I've never heard that. And, and in fact, I never heard the word terpenoid.
Really?
I was the same thing.
You guys have never heard the word
terpenoid?
Have any of you heard the word terpenoid? All right, there's my people. Yeah, so my purpose for that is we get caught up in all this slang. So the first thing to do would be to understand what are we talking about. So define a terpenoid, a terpene for me. Any of you?
Sure, I'll take that. So terpene is essentially the entourage flavoring, the aroma, the aromatic properties of anything, right? It's in THC, it's in flowers, it's in everything, and it gives an entourage effect to a traditional cannabinoid, right? So you have your cannabinoids, and then you have your terpenes, almost like they're like their uncle, right? They just kind of sit on the side, and they actually induce through flavor, through their other properties, they just induce other properties. So we're talking about, the ability to calm, the ability to sleep, much like a cannabinoid, except they're found in everything.
Yeah, it's a volatile oil. It's a secondary component, secondary compound that comes off of the cannabis plant or the hemp plant. Being that it's, cannabinoids are also secondary components, but there's not a big difference between essential oils and volatile oils. Essential oils pretty much contain the volatile part of the oil, but there's a difference between essential oils and terpenes. Big difference, but same source somewhat for some of them.
Tell us some of the basic differences, because you can use essential oils in all your products as the same. So tell them what the difference would be in that.
That's right. Well, man, that's a tough one for me to fire off way. Colby,
put a pin in it.
Do you have an answer for that one?
Unless you have something.
No, I think of them as effectively as essential oils. Maybe they don't match the exact description, but they have pretty similar effects to the essential oils that are often used in aromatherapy, things like that. So perhaps chemically it's not quite the same, but effect-wise it's pretty much the same. They tend to be pretty powerful. In fact, in our formulations, typical amount is only 1% to 2% of the amount of CBD that's in a product, and yet they can steer the effects in the right direction that you want with very little actual product in there.
Yeah, I'd say they're also a more natural derivative, right? They're ever present. Even if you didn't want terpenes in your product, they're still actually going to be in your product, just because you can't actually truly separate all terpenes out. I think essential oils are a less, I don't want to say natural because that's not the right word, but they're just not as prevalent in product as a actual terp is.
Well, so that may be true if you're doing a broad spectrum or a full spectrum product. If you're doing like what we do, is we try to make our own spectrum. It's no terpenes in there that we don't want. There's no other things that we don't want, just the things that we want in there.
Yeah, like for my epilepsy, I can't really have eucalyptol. That's not good for me. I'll probably have auras, and probably have to take a bunch of tincture. Yeah, but so in my bar, I have an alchemy lounge bar in Boulder, Colorado, and we blend together essential oils in our oxygen therapy sessions. And in those oils are certain terpenes that I've come across. Alpha and beta-pinene, beta-caryophyllene. Those are all really like the big ones: linalool, lavendulum, terpenolol, and Can you pronounce the one that starts with an N? Nerolidol. Nerolidol. There it is. There's some tough ones, man.
Don't get me going. I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't do it. One of the biggest kind of setbacks in the cannabis industry and the whole space is quality, sourcing quality. Are you getting your terpene mixtures from Walmart? Tell me a little bit about what kind of effort each of you went into sourcing the terpenes, and what kind of things were important to you when finding your source.
Sure.
Well, for us, the important thing is purity, and making sure that it's from a good source. So we found one supplier, which is one of the biggest in the cannabis industry, at least. We source. We know that we can trust the quality, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to sourcing any of your products, right? You're going to want to see all the heavy metals. You're going to want to see a full panel COA.
Yeah.
You're going to want to know what plants it actually came from. You're going to want to find out what state it was grown in, how it was grown, where it came from. I don't just go say, oh, these are some cool linalool. I want to pick it up out of a bottle and purchase it. You've got to go through a lot more due diligence because they truly have such an effect on your end product, right? If you're shortcoming in any way on your actual due diligence in product creation, you can really get some adverse effect. So it's very, very, very much due diligence.
So you're saying it's pretty important. Charlie, tell me how important it is.
No, it's super important to know what the soil blend is and the plants that are being grown. So that's where it all begins. You got to know what's in the soil. So ask them what their soil blends are, 100%. And you might go to global cannabinoids for their terpenes. You never know. Yeah. It depends. Because they have different soil blends, and really you got to find out which one's more pure. Who knows? Wow. I don't know.
All right.
But I'm gonna find out.
Yeah.
Because I just work with global cannabinoids, never worked with true terps, but we use cannabis strains for our terpenes, not hemp. And so I know which strains are coming from. I know I've had my fingers in the soil, hugged the plants. You know, it's very important to have a personal relationship with what you're selling, so you can actually come across the table with a purity and personal experience, you know, with the product.
So our terpenes are not sourced from cannabis. They have different spectrum that you would find in a cannabis plant. Limonene, for example, is typically found from citrus peels, and we use different amounts, perhaps larger amounts than you might find if you're extracting from a cannabis plant. Now, if you're trying to reproduce a strain, like Charlie might be doing, or get close to some strain that you know something about and you have certain effects, then you want a spectrum of terpenes that is very similar to what is found in cannabis plants. If you're doing what we're doing, which is trying to make up a particular effect based on the literature that we know about, various terpenes have different effects, then it's a different approach and your sourcing is going to be different.
Correct. So with terpenes, they don't just tell me some of the places that you can source terpenes, because it's not just in cannabis, and I think that that's a confusion that people have. So tell me a couple of places that you can source terpenes. And
Yeah, I mean everywhere. Or you can source them from orange peels. You can source them from flowers, and each of them are going to create a different entourage effect in your end product. Obviously, cannabis, hemp, those are the traditional ones, but we use orange peels for a lot of our clients' products.
I find when I was weaning off my epilepsy pills, I had to be very careful. I was trying every single product from every single dispo I went to, south of Denver, in Denver, north of Denver, Fort Collins, all over the place, in Oregon, California. I was traveling all over the place to find the tincture that worked best for me, because I was really trying to get off these pills and were not working. So I found that it had to be cannabis-derived terpenes and hemp-derived cannabinoids for me. It's probably different for you, you know what I mean? So different for all of us. But for me, personally, I have to go heavy on the cannabis and super heavy even heavier on the hemp, because cannabis is way stronger, and the female spirit of the cannabis plant is super strong. And the male spirit of the hemp plant is guiding, you know, fatherly, protecting, you know, and what it carries is different, you know. So mother and father, bring them both together, and you got a really nice relationship.
oh, love it.
Yeah.
Well, sourcing generally is it's always from botanical origins, but different plants are typically a less expensive way for people in the industry to extract the terpenes than from cannabis, for example. So limonene from citrus peels, eucalyptol from eucalyptus typically, or geraniol, which we use in our inflammation relief product, might come from roses or something similar.
So you're like eating roses, or do you put them in your tea? How does that
it's a
transfer?
component,
It's a slow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a component of roses in terms of their smell and the oil and everything, but yeah.
It's a slow heat, slow time process to create something like an essential oil or a hydrosol or a volatile oil or terpene from a secondary or third-party source. So when you're vacuum steam distilling it, to create it, you don't want to use too much heat, because it's going to kill off the spirit of the plant.
Right.
And so that's where terpenes carry lots of its medicine: antifungal, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory. Every terpene has those three benefits for sure, and more. And some of them have more. But the low heat, long period of time on whatever it's being prepared on is important, you know, in the preparation of it for terpenes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's
Totally.
That's one of the worst things you can do, is just kind of burn out the actual values of a terpene by kind of overcooking, and that's for really any product.
That's right.
And I see it happen all the time. Where it's just, you know, you say you have all these terpenes, but actually, truly, you've actually cooked them off by the time your actual product is in the consumer product. So.
Does anybody have any questions, any input, anything at this point? Wow, we just want you guys to engage. We're half day, shake your body a little bit.
Ecstatic
No.
dance, anyone?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
What's your favorite terpene?
Go for it, brother.
Go. We talked about this.
You guys will all answer, and then tell him why.
Yeah.
as well.
Limonene is my favorite terpene. It's got anti-anxiety. Long day. Also, it's interesting because, I don't want to say it has anti-cancer properties, but I'm very heavily reading into it, and I think that it has such a powerful effect. And
I
also
believe
just
it.
a nice body thing that goes on with it as well.
Yeah, so for us, my favorite might be it depends on the effect that I'm looking for at the time. Of course, in general, for us, for our products, I can base it on our biggest sellers, which typically are calm and sleep, and both of those have myrcene. And then myrcene is well known as sort of the couch lock terpene. It kind of lays you out, makes you makes you calmer, helps you go to sleep. Humulene has some of the same effects. So those are probably the ones that seem to work best for us.
Right now, I'm really digging on the beta-caryophyllene from pepper. A little spice, a little energy, good mental crispness.
Yeah, so we have beta-caryophyllene and alpha-pinene in our focus mints. Works really well. We also put it in our pain relief mints because it has a reputation for helping out with that.
Totally. Do you guys work with linalool a lot in your?
We do. Linalool is. I'm looking at my cheat sheet here. We've got it in our
Lavendel.
calm mints.
Yeah. Yeah, myrcene and linalool would be nice together.
Uh-huh.
I wonder if you could just get those two together. It'd be expensive, but
No, it's not.
it'd be worth it.
It's not hard to do. I mean, we have both of those in our calm as well as terpenoline and nerolidol.
Yeah.
Both in the proportions that we
Sorry.
think are about right. So it's not expensive if you're not trying to come from a cannabis plant when you've got fixed ratios to work from. If you're starting with the pure substances, then you can make the ratios that you want.
I'm so in love with cannabis.
Yeah.
I cannot.
It is a frisky relationship.
So I also have one more question.
Drop it.
I'm trying to find a terp that's more like garlicky. Would you happen to know that name of terp that's more garlicky? Because I just been reading and it's kind of like, it seems like a more garlic terp seems to be a bit more potent in a way.
Yeah.
So to say, so I'm trying to find that name of the terp. That's all.
Come by my booth. I got them on a little piece of paper standing up, and we'll go down the list. I'll show you which one it is. Yeah, brother.
Yeah, I'm like looking, I can't figure it out.
Awesome. So I want to encourage you guys, if there's one bit of information when you kind of started all of this education for yourself and finding your purpose with the plant, what is the one thing that nobody told you that created some riff in your mission and your project when it comes to terpenes, CBD, how they marry, where to get it, who's playing with it? So
I would honestly say, well, two things, right? First off, know your sourcing. Doing your own due diligence. Don't believe what the paperwork tells you. Do your own third-party testing. Secondly, you don't necessarily have to believe what the effect of the terpene is. Take it yourself. Feel how it makes you feel. It's somebody else just wrote down, okay, this has anti-anxiety, but some of them for me actually don't. So I would say do your own self actualization of what your products, the effects that they have. Don't just go off of the paperwork.
yeah, discovery is important.
100%.
Absolutely.
I think it's actually, there's an interesting contrast between the discovery that we did and the discovery that Charlie did, for example. From what I can gather from what he's told us, it was basically personal experience.
Sure.
Go out and try a bunch of different things. Start, write down what you've experienced from it. Try to remember what you've experienced and then try to correlate that among, the different strains that you've tried. And our approach was a little bit different, which is start in the literature and put together what other people have said is good, then then make prototypes and test it yourself to make sure it matches. But it's a different starting point.
So you're going to test it on like your mom and dad and your dog.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
I did that too.
Charlie, tell us if there's one thing that you could tell them about your journey with terpenes that you wish you would have known at the beginning. What would that be?
Oh yeah, definitely. I wish I had known to go straight into full spectrum terpene enhanced right away. Rather than, I mean, there's a time and place for whole plant versus distillate, full spectrum, terpene enhanced for both, but both are effective. But I think just wish, I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, and tomorrow we'll have more information to learn.
Yeah, maybe the answer will be different.
That's right, perhaps. You never know.
I love it. So we know how important and popular terpenes are when it comes to CBD. I think it's also as equally important to talk about things like when you start to add things like terpene to your product, does it change your shelf life? Do you have to do a whole different rediscovery for products that you are or not using that in?
Yeah, I think anytime that you make a change to your product, you have to do a whole new discovery, whole new shelf life analysis, 100%. I mean, that even goes for any ingredient that's an inactive ingredient as well.
Does it change the shelf life in the product?
I would say it's very unlikely to change the shelf life. The reason
We got
is
some different answers up here.
It's just a tiny little bit, though.
terpenes are oils. They don't have water, and it's water activity that generally is going to affect your shelf life in terms of having anything for biological agents to grow. So, if it probably is unlikely to affect your shelf life very much, one terpene to another.
Mm-hmm. It just brings a question, why do people put preservatives in their tincture, like vegetable glycerin? Why is that in there? I want to know, because it definitely doesn't need to be there.
Why do you think it's in there?
To prolong the life shelf of
Correct.
the product. So I'm going to try and sell my stuff faster than it expires, because I want a clean product going into people's bodies. I don't want anything going into anyone's body that I wouldn't take. You know what I mean? And I'm truly heartfelt about that. And it's almost offensive that the market's flooded with, crap.
Yeah, what are we going to do to change it? Especially whenever
Be
it
an
comes
example.
to stuff like this. Exactly.
Got to keep being an example, coming to expose, talking, and representing with self-discipline and honesty,
Do we think that maybe, I don't want to get too off topic, but holding entities accountable when we see that type of behavior, and I'm not
I
saying
don't wanna
accountable
create division.
necessarily, but just sitting down with them and posing the question, because maybe you have the resource, but they don't have the resource. So,
Money's always a player.
well, there's enough money for everybody out there.
Yeah, some people don't have the money to buy clean product and then slap their own label on it, or actually grow their own and make it and extract it and bottle it and label it.
I mean, that goes to it from a consumer standpoint too, right? Make sure that you're purchasing from a GMP, from a USDA certified organic. That's one of the first things that I do look at, because then we know where it came from, and you know that there's a track and trace. You know the certificate of origin. And I think that's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So where do you source your terps?
Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. You want to tell everybody where they get that? Anybody looking for terps?
Anybody looking for terps? I actually have a friend in Colorado. I had a friend in Colorado who extracts some company called Team Terpene, very small company. But I just know his product. I know what he grows. I know he's very consistent. And I think that that's another thing too, is when you're purchasing, you want to make sure you're getting the same product over and over again. And some of these companies just have such a fluctuation in, you buy 1 liter and then you buy the next liter, and they're just completely different. And it's just like, how can you have an ending product that's going to maintain the same consumer effects if you're going to have a raw material that's going to fluctuate? And that's, a huge.
So how do you manage that?
Well, that's I have to have good sourcing, right? That's why I choose my small little guy who Team Terpene. I know what he grows. It's always consistent. And that's one of the first things I look for is consistency, right? Consistency in our product. Yeah.
Yep. My manufacturer, we have an organic farm in California and organic farm in Colorado. 2 farms only, easy to manage. There's not like 13 grows like Native Roots in Colorado. It's incredible.
Start to lose a little bit of quality.
Oh
the
man,
bigger,
and they
I think,
spray
you
their
get.
stuff, you know. It's crazy.
But it's one of the reasons, it's probably the biggest reason why we chose to start with isolate instead of doing a broad spectrum or a full spectrum. And the reasons are two. One, you don't have control over your spectrum if you're doing full spectrum or broad spectrum. You're going to take, except by changing the strain, basically, or maybe changing the farming a little bit different. The problem is you're going to have variation season to season, strain to strain. And if you want to have a consistent product year to year or season to season, it's a lot easier to start with substances that are pure and you know what's going into them, and combine them in the ratios that you think is appropriate. If you're starting with if you're trying to do a full spectrum product, it's, unless you have control over your farms, unless you own the farms or have a lot of control over them, it's very difficult to be sure that you're getting the same thing time after time, and your customers have begun to count on it.
It's all testing, you know.
Yeah.
Manufacturing testing. Then when I get it, I third-party test.
So even though you have a quality relationship
Yep.
with them and you trust them, we're human. Everybody can
Yep.
slip, right? So it is a constant quality control.
Yeah, so my product's tested 3 times over. It's incredible.
Wow, that's amazing. So what I'm
Expensive.
hearing, which is good news for me, guys, is that there are 3 reputable terpene companies that sound like they're doing it right. So options, options, options. So I have a fun question. Why do plants make terpenes?
That's their pest defense.
Yep.
Yep.
In a lot of cases, I'm sure it is, but in some cases, it's going to be to attract.
Sure, yeah.
They are scent molecules.
Yeah, I think you did.
The harmonious relationship with nature, the give and take, the ebb and flow.
Yeah.
Right.
For scent, and,
Yeah.
and that can be either attractive or repulsive.
I was gonna say they make plants sexy. Yeah.
Yeah. do you guys have any comments, questions, concerns?
So I had like a
Letting you grab it there.
So is there a color scheme with terpenes, and if there is, does it like correlate to the effects? Because when I think about sativas, I think lighter colors, more up effects. When I think about indicas, I think so. Do those correlate to the effects with the like different colors of terpenes?
I think that might depend on like your vibe and how you're feeling towards all that. So in the industry, there isn't a color chart for terpenes. My manufacturer happens to have done their own color chart with them. True Terp might have their own. Yeah, so that's, companies do their own, but they feel that out on their own vibes. No. I mean, linalool comes from lavender, so why not make it purple? Right? I mean, myrcene, most abundantly found in mango peel. Limonene, most abundantly found in lime peel. Orange and yellow, orange and green. It can do that. Yeah.
No, I completely agree.
Cheerio.
Yeah, I was. No, 100%. I don't think that. I think it's so much about the way that you feel about that color. To be completely honest, is so much of what the effect that you're gonna internalize. I think.
Yeah, anybody else? No? Wonderful. Awesome. So as we make it through all of these different conversations here, I think it's important also to address the chakra system. Let's talk a little bit about that. Is everybody familiar with? Yeah. Woohoo! Yes, I love it.
Yeah,
let's-
chakras.
Yeah, let's talk about our aligning our systems and what benefit do terpenes have in that?
I see lots of that. My bar, we work heavily on chakra elixirs. We actually serve drinks called gem cordial chakra elixirs. And we soak certain crystals and gems in purified spring water, mixing them with different oils from different fruit peels and vegetables and fruits and flowers.
That assists in what?
And so
opening the
each
third
one of
eye or
those,
getting you
yeah,
aligned?
your brow or your solar plexus. Solar plexus is yellow, brow orangey, reddish color. Throat is important. Mine's feeling a little closed up right now, just because I'm in front of people. and that's common, you know. But yeah, man, colors definitely coincide with chakras. With my epilepsy, I had auras. Before I would go into a seizure, I would have warning signs. And with that, you can see things, and it's weird. And people don't want to hear it.
No, they don't. They don't receive that well.
But I totally see auras.
What's mine look like right now?
It's pink.
Oh.
You're purple. You probably see
Anybody
it too,
else?
man. Yeah, brother. You're orange, Hunter.
Of course, Hunter's orange.
Yeah. Chris, you're orange too.
So, what about you, Chris? What do you think about terpenes in? Are you familiar with the chakra and the open?
I have nothing to contribute on that.
Okay, wonderful. I appreciate the transparency.
I love this question because
Colby.
I'm just starting my chakra journey. And so when you guys are talking about auras and feeling, I'm like feeling the vibes. And I'm like, exactly. So
Upregulate.
I don't know, but I like that I'm learning. I'm like that it's coming to me. You know what I mean? And that's a world that I'm starting to describe. I guess my third eye is opening a little bit. I guess is a good way to put it.
Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here. I want to come back.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Anybody have a question? This is our Q&A time. We want to encourage you guys to open your throat chakras.
Some breathing.
I haven't checked out the Lucid Botanical product. I haven't checked out Charlie's products, and I don't know if you have any. The Lucid Botanical mints are phenomenal, and the ratios are really good. I've used them for probably about 3 years now, and they are absolutely beautiful blends. So shout out to Chris. Oh, wow.
Do you have any samples by chance?
One more thing about those products is I love how you just have them so like the terpenes are on there. What percentage exactly? You see exactly what you're getting out of your packaging. And as soon as I saw your packaging, I was like, very well done.
It helps us to preach consumer awareness.
100%.
I think another one of the big things that we've learned and kind of realized in all of this space is that people don't read labeling.
They do.
Yeah,
They
it
also
costs
do
money.
really
If
well.
people read labeling, the grocery stores would be out of business. So I think it's so hats off to you. I think labeling is everything, and incorporating maybe even to a QR code that kind of gives you that color wheel from your, supplier, whatever the case may be. Yeah.
They also they do really well as like a pairing with like tinctures and whatnot, tinctures and capsules. So it's like we do a lot of pairing of like this many cannabinoids and whatnot in this tincture with 2 of these mints. So like the pain relief mints especially, adding some beta-caryophyllene. There's also some alpha-pinene in there, and then some St. John's wort, some turmeric. Adding that to a tincture works really, really well, like in conjunction.
Awesome. Thank you.
Totally. Good.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Which terpenes are really good for like pain, inflammation issues?
I think everybody's gonna have a different answer.
I was
so
going to say myrcene, I would say, is a really, really good one, and that's one of the more well-known ones.
Definitely. I have a list of ones that are specifically for pain at my booth.
Okay.
Come by the Right Mind booth, and we'll have you look at the piece of paper.
Okay.
We have mints for pain relief and we have mints for inflammation relief. And it turns out that they're fairly similar in terms of both the herbs that we add, but also the terpenes. For pain, myrcene, humulene, beta-caryophyllene, and eucalyptol. And for inflammation, it is humulene, nerolidol, delta-3 carine, geraniol, eugenol.
Thank you.
Eugenol, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So I did, if you can believe it or not, I did a little bit of formulation in Vegas right before COVID happened. So I had the opportunity to go into a manufacturing setting and play with some of these terpenes.
Sure.
One of the most widely used ones that I love to play with was Cayenne.
Oh, cool.
Sure.
Yeah. Have you guys ever had any experiences with Cayenne? It is heavy in pain relief as well. Yeah. Have you had
That's interesting.
experiences?
I was going to say I have not had that experience.
Yeah, I think.
Very cool.
Don't use too much of it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
As with anything.
I use it daily for my immune system. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mix it with. We mix it in a drink with lemon, fresh pressed cold lemon and ginger, apple cider vinegar, and oil of oregano. Mix it in with that, and it's a gut cleanser. Clean gut, clean everything, mind and health system.
Wow. Is
Is
it cayenne pepper? Is that what we're talking about?
Well,
Yeah,
the-
it comes from.
comes in a
That's the
terpene.
source. Yeah.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah. Well, cayenne, the
It contains
cayenne
terpene
pepper,
and
you can
cayenne,
eat it, but you can extract the terpene from it as well.
Sure.
Anything. And
Yeah,
that's kind of
yeah,
what we want to
anything.
drive home. I mean, if you wanted the dirty sock terpene, you can
Yeah.
do that too. You just got to
Yeah,
wear them an
I just
awful
love
long
cannabis,
time.
but you can get them from anything. Yeah, but you know, I mean, yeah, you can get them from anything: fruits, veggies, flowers. Yeah, yeah. Burnt charcoal. I mean, you can get a terpene from that. It's good for you. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, they do use charcoal in overdose patients.
Yeah, totally.
Patients
Yeah.
who have overdosed.
The
Yeah,
Wonder
okay.
Juice Bar down the street from my bar sells a nice charcoal lemonade. It's actually really
Yummy.
good. Yeah.
I use charcoal toothpaste.
Nice. There you go. Right on.
It's very detoxifying.
Awesome. Anybody else? What do we have? Let's have a conversation. I don't want to point anybody out, but I will. You know, if you're sitting in here, definitely there's some knowledge that you seek. So, you know, tell me, have we done the favorite terpene thing yet? Yes. Okay, darn. Yeah, yeah. What are some terpenes? You know, let me ask this question first. Have you guys ever seen some adverse effects from utilizing certain terpenes in CBD or in your products?
Yeah, and that kind of goes to what I was talking about the, you know, trying the products yourself and making sure that they have the effects that they're designed for. I've gotten anxiety from certain terpenes that I've added. I don't know if I just put in too much, but which is definitely a thing, because obviously the amount per terpene is different in terms of the actual effect, but absolutely.
Could you overdose on a terpene?
No, I just said I don't think you can. I can't. I'm not a medical professional, but I don't think you can overdose on terpene.
Definitely not.
I don't think you can.
It's going to be a non-toxic
fall asleep.
homeopathic form of alternative medicine that you can underdo it on, and you can overdo it, but it won't hurt you. Make it sweat, but
You can't really overdose it, and we haven't really had any. The amounts that you use it to be effective are really pretty small.
Yeah.
So no allergic reactions.
I mean-
you have the pain stuff, or there's no. I know you have.
If-
but
You were talking about one about the epilepsy, right?
yeah, eucalyptol. It's bad for people with epilepsy.
that's a good thing
But
to
I
know.
love eucalyptus though, so that's a bummer.
It's one of my favorites.
But if you do have too much of anything, and usually you'll like get well, purge, throw up. You know, it's called getting well in the plant medicine world. And let's see, I forgot the other thing. I forgot what else I was gonna say.
It'll swim back around.
It will come right back.
So have you guys, any of you out there, had any interactions with terpenes that maybe struck question, or maybe you saw something in the terpene world that just didn't make sense to you? Wonderful. Glad to hear everybody knows everything on terps. Awesome. Say that one more time.
Are there any terpenes with minor even psychoactive?
Great question, huh?
I have, yeah, not that I've seen.
I bet you
But
anything.
there's entourage, the entourage effect is very present,
I
yeah.
bet you anything if you go heavy on one of them. Yeah, I mean, you know, you'd have to go real heavy though, like tons, like a liter. You know, you'd have to drink a liter
Don't
of
drink
it
a liter of
straight.
terpenes.
You know, you'd purge, but in a getting well situation, you usually do have colors or something coming to you, a message form of some way.
I forgot, but what would you say? Well, if once you say it, I remember.
Okay, yeah. Have you had any experience?
Oh, okay. So yeah, so when we're starting to learn about this, well, I'm an RN, right? So about 2 years ago, I was like interested in this, but everybody had very different descriptions for their terpenes. So I just totally like, you know what? Everybody has their own definition of what certain terpenes mean. I never really looked into it. There's no facts. There's no research. There's nothing that I can really go based off on.
It's a
And-
volatile oil.
Yeah.
No. But like, no. I'm talking about the feelings, like the feelings that you
he's
get.
saying, like, if he uses limonene, it's gonna do inflammation. If he uses this, what he's saying is
Like
it's
that's I want like that's what
inconsistent information.
yeah, like they were like, oh, we all got our special blends, and I was like, oh no, like that's cool. But like, is there anywhere that it says like, okay, this is for this, like this?
At his booth.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
definitely charts out there and information, but
Do you have the paper?
Because I've compared several throughout the years or whatever,
Sure.
and they're all very.
yeah.
I don't remember them, right? But I remember like, what? I just read that it wasn't for this.
That kind of goes back to what I was, kind of touching on is try it, feel it, how it makes you feel, because it's somebody else's just opinion of what that is. There's a tremendous amount of research.
Our ECSs are all different, So, and there's another thing I'd like to raise a question about. I'd love to see what you guys think. Dr. Sue Sisley actually is making a voice right now about. Oh shoot! Hold on, it just went right out of my head. Can you believe that?
Getting it back.
Oh, that there is, because just to touch to your comment about the sativa and indicas, she's gone on this conversation talking about how that is just a placebo, that there is no such thing as a sativa and an indica. If you look at our ECSs, what cures your anxiety may send me skyrocketing. I consume about 1,000 milligrams of cannabis, THC, a day. Most people, that it would knock them on their backside. So what is your opinion on that? And I think it's important too, as we're teaching people, that it is a corrected situation, that it is just a plant. They do grow differently and they do look differently. So do you believe in sativa versus indica, or is it all just a connection with the ECS?
That's a good question.
I'll say that.
Thank you.
I think they are labels that aren't very informative. That what matters is the spectrum in each plant, and that varies from strain to strain, and there may be some similarities between various strains that are indica-based and similarities among various strains that are sativa-based, but that doesn't mean that it's absolute, it doesn't mean that there isn't overlap, and it's not a very useful way, I think, of identifying what effects you're likely to feel from a particular plant.
I agree.
Yeah, if you have a spectrum from 1 to 100, it's basically just putting it into 3 different buckets, and it's truly a spectrum of 1 to maybe 1,000, right? And each plant, each strain, each cannabinoid, each has such a different effect. I don't think that you can truly call it. This is an 100% sativa.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a couple different reasons why they do lump them into the 3 categories: sativa, hybrid, and indica. Now there's sativa dominant hybrid and indica dominant hybrid. So there's really 5.
But what about ruderalis?
Well, you don't really feel euphoric from ruderalis. I mean, you just get energy from it. And it's a sativa plant, and the shape of the fan leaves that grow, you can tell the sativa plant has much thinner, longer fingers. The indica plant takes way less time to flower and grow and harvest, and also it's much bushier, shorter, and fat fanned hand fingers. And hybrid, you just gotta test it, see what your parents are. But with an indica, you're gonna find more calming terpenes, and you're gonna find a higher CBN cannabinoid content. Cannabinol, it's good for nighttime. It's the one that helps you get ready for sleep. You're probably going to find a lot more CBG, CBDV, CBDA, CBD. I mean, you're going to get... so that's what sets aside indica: CBN cannabinoid and calming terpenes. In the sativa, you're getting more citrusy terpenes, and then you're getting more THC content in the A, the V, the D8, and the D9 forms. You're getting all that. And yeah.
I was going to say, I think too that CBN is such a powerful cannabinoid that it's so associated with sleep that you need 1 or 2 milligrams of it, and you're having that indica dominant like effect.
And that with some linalool, man, you got a nice sleep aid, and I sell it at my booth. That's what's up.
Love
real.
it.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, listen, we are at time. You're more than welcome to come to panel after and ask your question, but we're at time. We thank you guys so much for taking your time to come and listen to what we have to say. We've got, I don't know how many years of combined expertise up here, so hang in there. You guys need anything, just reach out. Be vocal and accountable. Thank you guys. Awesome.